When you're snoring at night, you're having different breathing issues, you're depriving your brain of oxygen in little bouts. That's the same thing that happens in many strokes. Mouth tape has been relatively controversial, and I'm gonna break down the science and tell you why I don't think it's controversial. I could see how it could be taken the wrong way or misinterpreted. Welcome to Mouth Tape 101. So mouth tape has been relatively controversial, and I'm gonna break down the science and tell you why I don't think it's controversial. I could see how it could be taken the wrong way or misinterpreted, but at the end of the day, all the science, the only thing that matters is nasal breathing. That's the end goal, right? Breathing out of our nose. When you back yourself out of mouth tape and you think about breathing through your nose, there'd be very few people that argue against the positive benefits of nasal breathing, and that's what the entire foundation is built on. All we're trying to do with mouth tape is make you breathe through your nose. Breathing through your nose is the healthiest way to breathe, the most efficient way to breathe, especially when you're sleeping. So we're gonna talk about why that's important and the benefits you would get from taping your mouth at night. So I think the most impactful thing with nasal breathing or mouth taping, they go hand in hand, is the nervous system benefits. When it comes to sleep, you have to be as relaxed as possible. When you're in your parasympathetic state, so parasympathetic is relaxed, sympathetic is stressed, which seems like they should be named the opposite, but that's the way it is. The only way to get in your parasympathetic state is to be breathing through your nose. It's a direct link to your nervous system. It's not a debate. The way our nerves are actually wired is when you're breathing out of your nose, you have long exhales, you relax your nervous system, and you get yourself ready to fall asleep. And that's how you should be breathing the entire night. When you're breathing out of your mouth, that creates stress, and your body interprets that stress and it impacts your nervous system. And when you're not as relaxed as you could be, you're not gonna fall asleep as fast, you're not gonna stay asleep, you're not gonna have as deep a sleep. And all in all, it's gonna result in a less restorative night's sleep when you're breathing through your mouth. The second piece is relaxation through the cardiovascular system. So when you're breathing through your nose, that friction creates nitric oxide production, which is a gas that's taken down to your lungs and relaxes, dilates your cardiovascular system, allows your cardiovascular system to actually reset and take a break throughout the night. You want your heart and you want your cardiovascular system working the least amount as possible throughout the night. Like any stress on that system, it's already stressed. It's already having to adapt to everything we do. So the more you can relax that at night, that's also going to result in better, more restorative sleep and just better cardiovascular health in general. The third piece I actually think is going to be underrated over time is oral hygiene. When I say oral hygiene, I think people think of their teeth, which is true. I think oral hygiene over the next 5 to 10 years will be the biggest shift in the wellness and health space. First off, the microbiome starts in the mouth, so the bacteria production in your mouth that actually, greatly impacts your GI tract. The other thing is you want to look for chronic inflammation. The first place you should look is the gums. And when you look at chronic inflammation, that ends up going to your heart disease, brain, all these plaques get developed. Chronic inflammation in general, stress is the fuel for disease. And so I think over the next couple of years, the importance of the oral microbiome and just oral health is going to be amplified greatly, far beyond dentists. So what mouth taping does is it makes you have your mouth closed. When you're breathing through your mouth the entire night, a couple things happen. One, it throws off that bacteria balance. It creates different environments. Different types of bacteria tend to grow at a faster rate, which throws off the entire balance. We know, especially from the gut, that balance of the types of bacteria are really important. And the second thing it does is it drops the pH. Rule of thumb, if your pH, so if 7 is neutral for pH, right? So that's pretty much like water. 7 is neutral. Under 5.5 pH acidity tends to be the point where dentists will agree that your teeth enamel starts breaking down. When they do studies and you breathe through your mouth the entire night, it will drop below 4. So that's very acidic. Your mouth becomes very acidic. It creates an environment that's not healthy for your teeth, your gums, and again, inflammation comes along with that. So oral hygiene is a big impact when it comes to nasal breathing versus mouth breathing. The fourth thing is jaw structure. Your jaw takes shape of the position it's in over time. Our body's very adaptable. When you look at people playing sports or doing different activities for a very long time, their body morphs and adapts. Your jaw and your mouth are no different. So if you have a closed mouth the entire night, over the years, people tend to get a more defined jaw structure. If it's open, it tends to take that shape. And you can probably spot a mouth breather from a mile away, and it tends to have a less defined jaw structure. That science really came from studies done on teenagers and kids because they're growing at such a rapid rate. It kind of amplifies the results, and it's pretty wild when you look at some of those pictures and studies done. And then the last thing I'll say, when you look at carbon dioxide, so when you're breathing through your nose, what's happening is you're building up carbon dioxide tolerance. And so you actually want a low level of carbon dioxide the entire night. When you exercise or you exert yourself, carbon dioxide levels rise up. That's why you breathe through your mouth, to get rid of all the CO2. The issue is when you're getting rid of all the CO2, even when you don't have high levels of exertion, your body is used to having basically no CO2 in its system. And then all of a sudden, when you do something hard, that CO2 rises and your body freaks out. So when you are breathing through your nose the entire night, you're actually prepping yourself for stress. You're prepping yourself for workouts, for activity. And then when that CO2 starts to go up, you don't have that thirst to breathe. Like that CO2 tolerance, what that does, it's like makes your body crave breath. And so when you're used to it, you're able to control your breath better in high stress situations. You're able to be more efficient and just all in all have better output, lower stress on your body in higher stress situations. So CO2 tolerance, along with just oxygen in general. When you're snoring at night, you're having different breathing issues, you're depriving your brain of oxygen little bouts. That's the same thing that happens in many strokes. It's just little bouts of oxygen depletion, especially in a developing brain. When you think about someone that's 25 or younger, that the brain is developing at a rapid rate. Any disruption in oxygen is going to have a really big impact. And now some pretty wild studies are coming out about learning disabilities, development of the brain, ADHD, all these different ailments for kids, and their breathing is something that doctors are really taking a look at because it has more of an impact than we realized. So Dream Tape, our tape, I believe is the best mouth tape out there. We're made in the United States. We have all different versions. So we have regular tape for beards and it's more sticky. We have our Dream Strips, which is a super unique design. It stretches up and down, so it's very small. The smallest footprint, it stretches, you can talk, like you don't even know you have it on. We have skincare infused mouth tape that has collagen biotin, vitamin D, vitamin B, aloe vera to moisturize your skin, anti-aging formula. But we're driven by trying to help people, all these different designs. The only goal in mind at the end is to try to appeal to everybody, help them in whatever way they need to be helped and make the perfect tape for them. Like I said, we have custom adhesive from the United States, the least irritant, hypoallergenic. We basically tried to max out our tape. We spend more probably than any other mouth tape company. And that's because we wanted to make the best product. So when it comes to materials, quality, hopefully customer experience, that's our goal. And that's why we believe Dream Tape is the best tape out there. But in general, for me personally, mouth taping has been life-changing. I've been doing it for 7 years now. Obviously there's certain populations it's not good for. When you think about like BMI, when you're drinking, there's a lot of reasons that you can find on our website and packaging you shouldn't do it. But for the person that feels like they're at 90%, they're not sure why, taking a look at your breathing, your sleeping, it's really impactful. So check out Dream Tape, look into it more, and hopefully we'll see you sleeping with some tape on soon.